we've got today, my co-partner in this enterprise, AJ Davis, is actually a conversion optimization and an expert and a number cruncher. So she's going to talk about the 10 questions you really should be asking about your business, as well as where to get the answers so that you can continue to optimize your efforts and grow faster. So with that, AJ, would you prefer we do introductions? We're getting a little bit big to do that, or shall we?
I'd love for everyone to just let us know if you're a store owner and drop your links in the chat, but maybe we can do a quick around the room and just let us know like what brought you here today. And if there's any specific things you want to get out of this, so that way I can make sure
that's actually great.
Focus on the right things.
Questions. For those who don't know me, my name's Lori. I own an e-commerce agency here in Austin, Texas. We build them. We do a lot of systems integration and software consulting, and we do some marketing. Just depends like on what we do. Actually, we do everything but advertising. Would really be probably the easier way to sum it up. Rory, you're on tap next. Tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Rory Grant. I'm here in Austin. I'm actually in the industry. I work for Amplifier. We're a local 3PL. So we're on the backside. We do fulfillment for people like yourselves, e-commerce and things like that. I've been in account management for about 11 years, done a lot of different things. So keep my just finger on the pulse and love to hear from people like yourselves.
I actually would like to talk to you offline about, we have a lot of people who want to know what 3PL is, how it works, things like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk.
Yeah, love to.
Great. All right, Samuel.
Samuel Alexander, CEO of Concept to Consumption. We are a global ecosystem, and we're about to launch our e-commerce platform, which will be manufacturing made-to-measure clothing direct from the factory in 7 days, and also shipping from our factories straight to the consumer. We're bypassing everything, going directly to the consumer.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. Isaac.
Hi, everyone. I'm Isaac. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I'm a user experience designer with a background in sales and marketing, helping startups increase customer satisfaction, brand loyalty, and revenue.
Cool. I guess this is Ken. You don't look like Deb.
Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. No, Deb's hiding.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
Hi there. I'm here.
Am I talking?
Oh, okay.
So,
Deb and Ken, let's get them. Sorry about that, Ken.
So
no worries. Okay.
So
yeah.
Ken Moore McKinney. We're located in Ithaca, New York. We're a merchant. We have a website and a brick and mortar store.
Cool. What do you sell?
Gifts and home decor. Yeah, farmhouse, vintage style stuff, Marmalade Mercantile.
Cool. Very cool. Welcome. Rupa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rupa. I work as an account manager for BigCommerce.
Oh, cool. Welcome. Are you here in town too?
Yes, I am. I'm based in Austin.
Awesome. Kent.
Yeah.
Kent with the T, sorry.
Cool, no worries. Yeah, I'm here in Austin, Texas. I'm a software engineer. I'm just getting into Shopify. I'm launching my own brand for apparel, streetwear, skateboarding, direct to consumer.
Very cool. Very cool. Kirby.
Hey, yeah, so I'm Kirby here in Austin. I got a Shopify store called Safety Chew where we sell a dog toy that locks in bully sticks so your dog doesn't choke on them.
Ooh, that sounds really interesting. Are you part of one of the incubators here in town?
I am not. We are just a couple of guys bootstrapping it.
Cool. Julia. Can you hear me? Julia, would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, we'll move on. Josh?
Hey, how's it going? Name's Josh. Not currently in Austin. I'm calling in from Seattle, although I do live there, and I'm a merchant.
Well, what do you sell?
Apparel.
Ah, cool. Evan?
Hey everyone, my name is Evan Claire Larson. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I work alongside Rupa at BigCommerce as a senior customer success manager.
Cool, nice to meet you. It's weird to see new faces and names at BigCommerce. I don't know. I guess it's growing too quickly. I don't want to mispronounce your name, so please correct me. Amaka?
Yes, you got it right. My name is Amaka.
Oh, good.
I'm a third year Doctor of Pharmacy student at the UT Austin. So I just started a brand, MedAid Caddy. It's a way that helps people store medications better.
Cool. Very cool. Is it Damarie?
Yes, Damarie. I am based in Austin here, and I also am a customer success manager along with Rupa and Evan here at BigCommerce.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Adarsh?
Yeah, hi. This side Adarsh. I'm based at India, and I'm starting my own e-commerce platform. So I just want to learn few things.
Cool. Very cool. Well, with anything we can do to help you grow, let us know.
Thank you so much.
Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa. I am based here in Austin. I do not have a e-commerce business or anything, but this was recommended on Meetup. So I thought this would be a great place to learn, maybe get started in one. But I am a clinical informaticist at this time.
Cool. What does a clinical informaticist do?
Basically, high level, kind of a liaison within the IT support system at the hospital and healthcare. So work in IT, but work in health with a healthcare background.
Huh.
I used to be a respiratory therapist.
Wow, sounds interesting. Darren.
Hey, everybody. Darren Marshall, based up in Dallas, not too far from you all. I head up the user experience practice at JCPenney. Before that, did a fair amount of e-com consulting and saw the topic, thought this would be interesting.
Cool. I have a feeling you probably can offer up a lot of useful information. Let's connect on LinkedIn.
For sure. Yeah.
So we love to hear from larger retailers because you get to experience the world a little differently than most of the people that are part of the group. Rick. Hello, Rick. Okay, he's not answering. Ginkgo Academy.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. I'm sorry I joined late. So I missed the introduction about what I'm supposed to be saying right now.
Tell us a little about who you are, what you do, and while we do have an active chat where you can certainly provide more information if you have questions, then or things you want answered, feel free to offer that up.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I am in my day job, I'm a user experience designer for CVS Health. In my side job, I am starting a new business for a product that I didn't really invent, but I innovated, called the Carloo. It is a toilet targeted at women for use in the car. And so I am.
Are you starting in Los Angeles where people sit in traffic all day long?
It's really for anyone who experiences pee anxiety. Doesn't matter where you are or who you are. So Los Angeles is a fine place to be, but we use it in Northern California, used it all over the country. So, I'm now trying to sell it, and I suck at marketing. I was pretty good at getting the product this far, and I suck at marketing. So glad to be here.
Welcome. Glad you could join us. Gary.
There, how's it going? Let's
All
see.
right.
Oh, here I am. Yes. We've worked with Lori quite a bit on developing our site. We are the tape guys. We sell adhesive tapes to B2B through our BigCommerce platform, and we're predominantly in the heating, cooling, indoor air quality, restoration, and home performance industries.
Cool. Cool. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
Let's see here. Samuel Banner, I think is what it says. Did he just disappear? I said his name and he went poof. Did I miss anybody who wants to speak up? Okay. Let me do a little better job introducing AJ Davis. AJ is the founder and owner of Experiment Zone, software that helps companies set up their user experience testing or A/B testing for conversion growth. So take it away, AJ.
Hey guys. What I'm going to do today is we're going to talk about some questions you should be asking. I'm a big believer that before we look at any data, we need to know what we're trying to answer so that we can focus on the right things. So I want to take you through some of the ways that we think about asking these questions and then specific places you can go to get the answers for your store. I love questions, so speak up or drop a question in the chat. If anything's unclear or you need more examples, let me know. All right. So we're going to go through why we need to start with questions for your business, what the 10 questions are you should be asking and where to get those answers, and then making sure you're finding the right questions for your business. And then I have a giveaway at the end as well as a little incentive to stick around. Lori gave me a great intro, so I'll kind of flip through these pretty quickly, but we're really all about finding those little incremental ways, the little pieces of friction that get in the way so that customers don't end up just giving up and saying, hey, I know what to expect on Amazon, so I'm just going to go there and buy it instead or buy some competitor instead. We want to make sure customers can stay on your site and have a great experience and convert on their first visit. And my email's here. It's aj@Experiment Zone if you want to chat as a follow-up. All right, so what are the reasons to start with questions? Curiosity, we want to learn things. We want to know about our customers. We want to know what they like, what they don't like, but we really want to learn so we can move our business forward so that we can get ahead of competition. A lot of companies I talk to are kind of aimlessly collecting data. There's a lot of companies out there that will sell you a subscription and say, we're going to change your business. And all they're doing is really collecting the data. So you've got to put the data into action or know what to do with it in order to derive value from it. And then all those insights should lead to action, which will help you grow your business. So just a quick intro to conversion rate optimization. If you haven't heard this before, it's really just the process or the thought workflow of what is it about the customer experience today that needs to be improved so that visitors become customers when they come to your store. It could be things like you want more people to order, you want people to share their email address, you want them to reach you. You've got to know what it is that you want them to do, and then you focus on what's getting in the way of people doing that today. A core belief at Experiment Zone and throughout my experience is that we really have to balance the qualitative and the quantitative insights. So you've got folks that are going to say A/B test everything all day and you'll know exactly what to do. And you'll have folks that say, if you put it in a usability study lab, you'll know exactly what to do. But really, to me, it's the collection of different signals from different inputs that's going to give you a stronger sense of who your customer is, what makes them tick, what they're having trouble with, and what's going to be the right solution to solve problems they're having. All right, so this is a kind of a freebie question. So ideally your business has the answer of what's our purpose? Why are we a business, right? But a lot of the time it's just that going through the process of writing it down can be really informative, because you can kind of understand what assumptions you're making or start tracking what KPIs or what metrics really show success for your company. So you need to have a goal in mind, both for what problem you're solving for customers, how you're going to help them, what your product really does, what does that look like in their lives, but then what metrics matter to your business to drive revenue. So it can be conversion, it can be number of orders, it could be the size of the order, how many products they order, how many visitors come to your site. There can be a bunch of things that you're working towards, but each of those are going to have different strategies for how you make a difference in it. So know what you're focused on and which things are most important to your business today, so you can find the right insights to drive towards that goal. All right, so the first question is, who are my customers really, right? So there's kind of this idea of who your target customer might be, who your target niche might be, someone you really want to speak to. And then there's who's really coming to your site and what do you know about them? So there's a lot of power in actually having conversations with people. Talk to people who've purchased from you recently and understand what's gone on with that experience for them. How are they really using your product in the day-to-day? What surprised them about getting the product or about starting to use the product? Potentially they're using it in ways that you haven't thought of and could be a whole different advertising campaign for you. So don't just do surveys and just like get reviews, I like you, I don't like you, but actually schedule follow-up conversations, especially in the early days, can be really impactful to helping understand and grow empathy for what your customers are going through. And my pro tip on this is that you should write down the words they say, because it's going to be better marketing copy than anything you'll ever come up with. So the verbatim things that people say and the words they use to describe their problems, you can then build out into email campaigns, SMS campaigns, copy on your website. So the tactics that we use to get there, interviews are really powerful. You get to ask why, just keep asking why, and you'll get really deep to the root of the problem or the root of the motivation for your customers. Surveys are great to start getting sort of in aggregate what's going on. And then tools like Google Analytics can start revealing some behavioral differences, what devices people are using, where they're located. So you want to understand what's important to your customers. What words do they use to describe why your product's important to them? How does that fit into their life? Are they using it every day? Are they using it for specific moments in their lives? Like if you're selling a tax product, maybe people never want to think about your product and they just want it to be functional and get that problem out of their way. Versus if you have if you produce coffee mugs and you want somebody to have that be part of their daily enjoyment, right? So you want to understand, do they love your product, or is it just sort of something that it's solving a problem and getting it out of the way and they don't want to think about you anymore? You want to know some of the common attributes and behaviors for your niche audience. And then sometimes understanding those related areas. So like, what else does it look like? So if you're in the coffee business, what else is at their table? What else do they care about? That can be helpful for understanding what partnerships you might consider or how you might portray your product in imagery, so it more accurately reflects what customers are doing in their real lives when they use your product. So for example, if you're in like the healthcare space, maybe they care about health and adventure, and they prioritize travel and they exercise and they like clean eating. And so getting a bigger picture of what these people are like, you can imagine and start talking to them more directly. So here's some examples of where you can go in Google Analytics. I'm going to be dropping a couple things in today of like, if you've got this set up already, what reports can you start looking at today to understand some information? So in the audience report, this is the kind of the navigation you'll see in Google or Google Analytics. There's a whole bunch of information here, like the languages people use, where they're coming from, what device they're on. All this stuff is important to just build up a sense of who's coming to your site. And there's some visualizations, so you can see, mostly US, but kind of all over. You can get a sense for, are people coming back? Like, are they just kind of one and done? And what does it look like for each of these groups? What's the breakdown of people? And so that what you can do with this data is to start thinking about the journey that each of these customers might go on and how that might be different in the initial visit versus later sessions when they're really engaging and learning something different. And here's some example of devices. Another tool that's really helpful is to build customer personas, or kind of a visualization of who your customer is. There's lots of techniques for how to get to this. There's really research and data-driven approaches, but you can also kind of just do this off the cuff, or you can do it based on someone you've actually met who's actually worked from you or has purchased from you. Because what you want to do is when you're writing your copy or when you're building your site experience, you don't want to be thinking about yourself and what you want from it or how you want to talk about it. But instead you want to say, if I'm sitting across from Mark at coffee, what are the words I'd say to him to describe what our product is, how we help him, what his experience is going to be like getting our product. And it's going to be different than if you just say, I, or we do all this stuff, but instead, hey, Mark, this is what you're going to expect. And you can start thinking about what questions might he ask and how might Mark be different than Maggie if they have different kind of things going on in their lives, different roles at their companies, different goals with your products. And then you can think about for each of these people, what are their real needs and how are they different from each other? And then our second question today is, where are the leaks in my funnel, right? So we need to understand, across the marketing journey or customer journey, somebody's going to find you somewhere, and then there's some percentage of them are going to get to your website. Some percentage of them are going to go from your landing page or your home page to product pages. Then they're going to find something, they're going to add it or not. And so each of those moments are sort of different mindsets or different needs for the visitor. And you want to focus your efforts on knowing where it's the most leaky so that you can figure out the problem there. So rather than boiling the ocean and solving all problems all at once, let's find out where the biggest leaks are and focus there first. And this comes back to behavioral and Google Analytics again. You want to know where people are first interacting with your business offsite, and then where they're landing when they do get to your site. And then you also want to understand what happens when they leave your site. So there are certain pages or certain page types in your store where people are just not really, they're just bouncing, they're leaving without taking action, so that you can go and reflect and see what's going on there. So for example, after landing on our site, visitors are most likely to leave from a collections page. Might be something we can learn from asking this question in Google Analytics. And we can then have our team focus on looking at the collections page and understanding and potentially observing customers use the collection page, so you can really see like, oh, that's why they're confused, or this is what's creating some friction for them on this page. And so where can you find this information in Google Analytics? Under behavior, site content, you've got landing pages and exit pages, which will give you a roll-up of all the visits. And so you set the time frame, usually about like the last 30 days is a good benchmark, a good starting place. And you can see where people are landing on your site. You can see where they're leaving your site. You can just see where they're spending their time on your site. If you want to take this a level deeper, you'll want to segment this by what kind of customer they are. So you could ask, for people that are coming from a paid ad, where are they landing and where are they exiting? Is there a lot of overlap in those, or are they making it a couple steps in and then ultimately leaving? So you'll want to ask that question for each of the different audiences that we defined as part of the last question. And then a second report to look at to understand this is if you have enhanced e-commerce set up, which if you don't today, go do that. That's probably your only takeaway, is to make sure you've got that data coming through. Under e-commerce, under conversion, e-commerce, shopping behavior, there's this great report that will show you how many people get to each of these page types. So the home page, or the, got my thing covering it. Give me a second. All sessions, so total people coming to your site during the time frame, how many people make it to a product page, how many people add to cart during their session, check out, and transact. So you can see the raw numbers, but importantly, you want to know who's like dropping off, right? So a lot of people in this example are just not doing anything. Many are not adding to cart, about 86%. And so you can keep track of these numbers over time to see if you're improving on improving like this leakiness, right? So you can compare these 30 days versus the 30 days last year to see if there's anything that's shifted as well. So is anything more leaky or less leaky than it was before? All right, and then any questions so far? Looks like we're none through. Lori, anything can't come through? No, okay. All right, so our third question is starting to understand, do visitors really get what your business is about? This is the number one issue we see when we work with a new customer, is that they know their product so closely that they're not realizing this disconnect that they have with their audience. And so somebody comes to the site who's new and they miss just saying, we sell shoes, like here's what we do, or here's how we help you. We sell shoes for runners. You know, we want to make sure that first impression is not just this site's beautiful, or I like the imagery here, but we want to make sure they understand what the products are. Because if they don't, there's plenty of other things that they can figure out more quickly and they'll bounce. So first impressions matter. Visitors are easily distracted, and we want to make sure that we get the best first impression possible. So there's a technique called first impression testing, which I would is a great starting point for any landing page or your home page. You can figure out what visitors notice first about the page, understand and ask questions about like what emotions are evoked. Like, are they angry about this? Does this feel very sterile? Does this feel very upbeat? You can kind of get some of those attributes that are brand attributes to make sure that aligns with what your intentions are. And you may learn things like, it says that they sell children's apparel, so they get sort of the broad category, but they don't understand that we use organic fabrics. So that gives us an opportunity to like bring that out more directly with copy and with photography above the fold on those first impression pages. And some of the tools that you can use for this, Usability Hub has a tool that's actually dedicated for first impression testing. It's very low cost. I'd highly recommend just setting that up, asking some questions, taking some notes on what people are responding to on your site. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can set up a first impression test with usertesting.com or Try My UI, and then also ask them to do other things like share your first impression. Okay, now find a product and check out, and you can watch that whole journey, and you'll find all kinds of pain points that people have or confusion they may have with your site. All right, so we get the first experience, like we nail that, right? They get what we do, they get the values that are coming up. Lori, did you have something?
Yeah, I was muted. I was going to say, I'm not sure it's clear to everybody here that those are tools that have real humans. You're basically hiring objective humans to give you that data. Because I don't know how many people here are familiar with any of them.
Yeah, that's a great, and I think I'll dig into that a little bit, Lori. I think one of the things that's really great about these tools is that they have participants, people that represent target customers for you, and you can set up screener questions so that they represent, you know, the age group you're going for, potentially, you know, the gender or location. And sometimes like Try My UI and user testing, you can ask very specific questions like, have you ever shopped at this website? You can see if you can find people who've shopped at competitor websites. So you know that they have interest in the product, but may not know yours. And then you get real insights from real people who've never experienced your site. So it's truly a first impression. It's not a machine guessing, but it's a real human saying like, this is very confusing, or I 100% get what this site's about. And it's a great thing to do a couple times a year as things are changing, just to make sure your marketing campaigns aren't detracting from that new customer experience of your landing pages. Anything to add there, Lori?
I mean, I think, you know, it's funny because you and I both see that people will go into Facebook groups and ask people about the site. And sometimes you get some tremendous insights, and sometimes you get people who don't have a clue what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about this is it's one of the few opportunities to, again, make sure whoever's answering is in your target market, and B, that they're not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and
so you're really getting better info.
I think part of the problem too with using like public like sourcing from your friends and family or Facebook groups is that people will like get into nitpicky things rather than impactful things. So if you structure the study the right way and you do a first impression test, the tool is going to show the site for 10 seconds and then take it away. So they can't linger and make up and say, oh, this thing in the footer distracted me. They're going to really get a 10-second look at your site and have to respond to it with, you know, what was this about? So there's definitely some more kind of structure you put in place. And I agree with you, Lori. I think people are trying to sell stuff on Facebook, but the other thing they're trying to do is they're just trying to like offer something new. And so you might find just a list of like small things that are more opinion than true friction points for people. You know, it may not be that this particular wording is the problem, but rather like people just can't read your font because it's a low contrast. And you're not necessarily going to be able to distinguish that if you crowdsource it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So we've got the first part of the experience right after that, right? So question 3, we have the right first impression. So what happens after somebody learns about our product and we've conveyed to them what it does, how it's going to help them make a difference in their lives? How do we get them to actually purchase? And the flip side of that is, why do people leave without purchasing? So folks that take action and kind of spend time on your site, but ultimately leave, there's something missing or something getting in the way of their experience. And we want to figure out why that's happening. So one of the ways that we like to do this is for folks who have showed a commitment to buying a product. They've gone through, you know, I always picture being in a Target where like they've gone through with the shopping cart, they've picked out all these items, and then they just like literally leave a shopping cart full of everything they needed at the register because the line's too long, or because they got a phone call and their kid's sick at school, or it could be 100 reasons why you might do that. But we need to ask our customers because we're not there with them to observe what else might be there. So the research technique is called an exit intent survey. So what this means is that visitors are on your site, they've taken some action, but now they're moving to leave the page. There's lots and lots of tools out there that will help trigger a survey at this point. You know, kind of the classic tools like SurveyMonkey, Shopify has 100 apps that will trigger this for you. A lot of email capture tools will offer this as a functionality as well. So the tool's not as important as the question. And we want to say, hey, what's going on? Like, why are you leaving right now? What are you looking for? Or how has your experience been? We do this a lot with customers and find that asking, like, what are you looking for can be helpful because it can help us understand, you know, are they looking for a coupon code, or are they unclear of the shipping policy? Because the solution to which answer of those you get is going to be different. You might bring in more information into your checkout experience to give them confidence that it is free shipping, or you might have to, you know, decrease the prominence of the coupon code because you just don't offer that many. So the solutions will vary based on what kinds of things you hear. So, you know, for this example, you know, if about half of your people are leaving for discount code, we want to either make it easier for them to like copy and paste it, automatically apply it, or like don't emphasize promo codes if that's not a core part of your business. A lot of these tools like Shopify just like by default show a coupon code field and it's exposed. It's something that our eyes gravitate towards. And so if you're not offering promo codes, we need to make sure people aren't getting distracted by that.
Anybody have any questions at this point? Okay.
So we talked about first impression. We talked about what's keeping people from purchasing at the end. Now we've got to figure out what's going on in the middle, right? Because there are people who don't find a product. So finding things in the navigation is a really common problem that people have. The order of what shows up in your navigation is really important. So we want to figure out what customers are struggling to find, because the more easily they can find something, the less friction they'll have to finding a product, getting excited about it, and buying. So the tools for this, the research technique is called tree testing. And basically what it does is it maps out your navigation into multiple layers, and you kind of see where they click through the navigation to find where it would be. And then they're either successful or not. So the data report you get back is like, you know, when people are looking for socks, 80% of them go to the wrong place first. But when they're looking for t-shirts, everyone goes to the right place because the navigation says t-shirts. So it's a really good way to figure out what product categories are hard to find, where it's creating confusion on your site, finding out where people get lost, and generally like looking if those products matter, like if socks matter to you, that's a great way to say, okay, that's our new priority. We need to go focus on solving the visibility of socks in our nav and on our site. And the go-to tool for this is Optimal Workshop. They've got a tool that will let you test out your navigation as it is today. They also have real participants, like Lori called out for the first impression testing. So you can find someone who is representative of your customer and have them find the products that you offer and the navigation you have. What it does is it strips away your site so that there's no help, right? There's no like visual aid or visual cues to where to go. And it's really just testing the structure of the information. So, you know, is it shop, then accessories, then shoelaces, or is it shop, then shoelaces? So you can test out what you have today or a hypothesis of what you think would be a better one in the future before you put it live on the site to make sure people can find your core products. And then just kind of a general question, or like, what are the friction points killing conversions? Like what's getting someone to say, yeah, I'm going to go to Amazon for this, or I'm not dealing with this site. So we want to figure out what's causing people to not become customers. This is where our real revenue opportunities are. Where are these friction points along that journey? We want to know where people are getting stuck, where they're dropping off, what pages they're exiting on, because at the end of the day, we can't boil the ocean and fix every single part of our experience and have it work for everyone. We need it to be the places that have the biggest friction and are the highest value pages are where we make sure we focus our attention first. And then I think a really important thing is to understand like why, like what's the reason this is a friction point. So we can look at analytics to really understand where the drop-offs are and what's happening and who it's happening to. But we need to dig a little deeper with surveys, research to understand why someone's having a hard time. Oftentimes there's a balance that we need to strike between providing educational information about what our product is all about, sort of like the sales pitch, but also the facts about it. But on the flip side, in a lot of testing, the more simple the experience is, the more people are just going to like go ahead to the next step. So you've got to like strike the right balance in how much you provide, the right kind of information, the right place for those things. And it can change over time too. Customer expectations are changing too. So you want to keep an eye on those and don't assume they're solved forever. So in order to get to kind of the category of pain points, we can use a combination of analytics data, click tracking data, and usability testing. Where people are dropping off. Are they interacting with the right elements on your page? So oftentimes people spend a lot of time building out a beautiful asset, like a long video telling the story of their brand. But if customers don't know it's a video and you can click play, it's not going to have an impact. So making sure you're seeing interactions on the things that you want people to interact with, making sure those interactions then lead to conversions are all important to understand. So if we see, for example, visitors mostly dropping off on product pages, we might look at a heat map to see that people aren't actually scrolling down to see that product video. And so then they're just not sure how the product works because they didn't see the video and you don't have it written out. So that insight can then lead to a bunch of different solutions that you could test out. Should we move the video up the page? That's probably a good thing to test. Should we take some of the content from the video and put it in a bulleted list in the description? Great idea too. So by aggregating the data and saying, here's what's happening, where they're dropping off, here's the experience on that page, what people are really doing with the page, and then why, what people are really confused about. That leads to a clear action.
Do you have favorite tools that you like to use for, because this is something, you know, that you would obviously use, like heat maps or scroll maps, clip map?
Great question, Lori. So for click tracking tools, Hotjar has been a really popular tool for a while. They had a really good entry point, price point. Microsoft Clarity's come on the scene recently, and they collect a lot of data for free on your site as well. So we've started using that and getting some great insights, and they're presented a little differently than Hotjar. There's, you know, Crazy Egg, a lot of landing page builders provide that as well. So it's really about making sure you're running the data on the right pages. Like just where we started at the beginning, running click tracking on everything isn't going to tell you something, but if you know people are dropping off on product pages, let's see what they're interacting with on the page and really focus in on that one experience. It becomes more meaningful and you're not wasting time watching click videos across your site.
So would you use your Google Analytics data to determine which pages you probably should be mapping?
Yep. I would use Google Analytics for that. For e-commerce, we generally look at your homepage or landing page. We then look at collection pages, product pages, cart, and checkout. So it's like the 5 core parts of your site. And so you could start with all 5 of those, but your analytics data, if one of those pages isn't, if those 5 sections are not your top 5 sections from traffic, we've got a different problem that needs to be addressed before kind of generally evaluating those experiences.
Thank you.
And then I want to talk a little bit about usability testing. It's pretty similar to first impression testing, but what we have an opportunity to do with these types of tools is to kind of recreate the journey of shopping and ask somebody to tell us what's in their head as they're doing it. So if you structure this the right way, you say things like, you know, remember to think aloud, tell me what your impressions are of this page. You know, what do you understand about this product? What's confusing about this product? All these tools let you bring your own customers so you can research with people who've already purchased from you to understand how the experience was for them. And you also can find people that, you know, are a good target audience match, but haven't purchased from you before. So the kind of new versus returning experience is a good way to think about researching how that flow looks. And then you set up specific scenarios and tasks for them to get them in the right mindset of, you know, why are they on this website? What is their motive? How did they find out about it? And then you ask them questions like, oh, you want to spend some time looking around, think aloud, tell us what you're seeing here, what catches your eye. And so in these activities, you can get a sense for, we did a user study recently and all of the participants said, wow, they'd open the mobile nav and they'd say, wow, there are so many options here. And nobody clicked something below the 3rd option. And it was very revealing that the architecture of the site was too specific rather than you kind of giving people a direct path to where they wanted to go. So these are a little bit more sophisticated to run than first impression testing, but they're going to give you really clear senses of where to focus your team's time. And for heat mapping, this is kind of an example of what you might get from one of these tools. So this is from Hotjar. So you can see where people, I think this is a hover map, so that you can see where people move their mouse on the screen. They also have a version of this where you can see just where people clicked on the screen. And then my favorite is actually scroll depth. So we often hide really core parts of our message and what we do below where people actually see it. So what this does is, you know, the red is showing us most people saw this. And as you get down the page, we're seeing like 25% of people get to this part of the page. And it just means that there's stuff that's not really grabbing their attention. So if your call to action is in the blue section, that means you need to solve that because people aren't getting to the thing that you're asking them to do. So this is a great way to like look at product pages, look at your homepage, make sure people are seeing things, information that's important. Question 9, what improvements should I make first to our site? Prioritization is key. We've got to work smart, not hard, right? We need to work on the right problems and we want to get to conversion today rather than tackle 100 projects that can take a lot more time. So we want to focus on low-hanging fruit, things that are iterative, and things that can have an impact quickly. And then we want to measure it. So how much do any of these changes that we're finding from the data actually make a difference, right? We can't just make changes, hope it works, and kind of move to the next thing. We want to make sure we really understand by how much, what was the impact? Was the assumption that we made about the problem and what would solve it impactful? Did it help our customers? Did it get us more conversions? We need to have a plan to learn from these things instead of just hoping that they worked. And then sizing this will help us look and say, okay, well, if people really responded well to the video on the product page, we should probably prioritize thinking about video content elsewhere on our site.
Do you have recommendations for the tools to compare what your state is today versus
testing?
A/B testing.
You're just, you're anticipating all my slides. Thanks, Lori. So there's tools for both prioritizing your tests and then actually executing on the A/B test. Some of these are really easy to start up on your site. And the hard part is making sure the idea is the right one to test and that you know how to read the results. So you want to design your test plan. You want to have a stated, this is what we're changing and here's what we think will happen, so that by defining what we think will happen, we can make sure we collect that data. So for example, we believe that if we show product swatches on collection pages, that visitors will convert higher. Well, if for 50% of visitors, we don't show product swatches, and for 50% we do, we can see if the conversion rate goes up or down relative to the other group to understand whether those product swatches are helpful to have there or not. And Lori, to answer your question, there's some great tools out there. They kind of fall under the testing and personalization platforms terminology. There's some very sophisticated tools that are out there. I used to work on Google Optimize, so I'll state that as part of my bias, but Google Optimize is a free tool. So if you've got Google Analytics already set up, it's very easy to start using the A/B testing tool. Google lets you have 5 tests running live at a time without charging you. So that would cover your homepage, collection page, product page, cart, and checkout, which are all those core parts of the journey that we talked about. So you can really be improving and measuring, did those improvements help, by using Optimize or another tool. So here's the summary of all the things to ask. We start with the broad business questions of what are our goals and objectives, who's coming to our site to buy, when are they getting stuck in the process, and then understanding each of those stages, both from that first impression to the purchase step, to make sure that we really know what's going on, so we can focus on the right things and make it a better converting experience. And the giveaway I promised is we've got a conversion report card on our site. Basically what we'll do is you choose a landing page or your home page, and we will give you specific fixes and a grade of how you're doing. So you'll know how to think about some changes that you might test out or make improvements on for those experiences. I'll drop that link in the chat.
Good.
All right.
I was writing it down, but I don't have your link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll grab it.
So
I think that's it for my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions with the remaining time. Anybody have any questions about where to find this stuff, or how you're thinking about your own questions for your business?
How many of you have actually clearly identified your customer avatar or avatars? Because it's possible you have more than one type of customer for your business. Has anybody in here done that yet? Do you know who your customer is?
We do. AJ, thank you very much. I found your presentation to be very, very helpful. We have identified our customer characteristic. Obviously, we're in the B2B world, so it's a little they're very simple people. It's not too complicated. But yes, there's some good stuff here. Thank you.
Does anyone else work from like a formal or like informal profile? Like, do you have it written down who, like some attributes of who your customer is? Sounds like this could be a follow-up for us, Lori, is to go deep on that. Would that be helpful as an upcoming topic?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, yeah, let me make a note of that. It's a pain in the behind, but it's really well worthwhile. One of the things that I think is a lot of people, you start a business because it's either a hobby or a passion or something, you've got some level of expertise. And that's obviously part of what you're going to test with that user impression is whether or not somebody understands what you're about. But you also have to think like your customer, because in many cases, your customer is nothing like you. So Gary, you're probably a really good example of somebody who set up a tech company, but your customers are not necessarily tech oriented.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So I think it's really helpful to especially if you've been around a while and you can take a look at Google Analytics and get some starting baseline for demographics. No.
Yeah, and you'll start discovering that there's more than like there's the niche, the focus point of like who your target is, but then you're going to start seeing these other people that are using your products in other ways, and you'll want to start being able to talk to them as you grow. And one of the things that I often see is that the personas that we build then map to specific landing page experiences. So we can think about speaking to that particular group of people, because the needs for someone, you know, if you're in the pet supply business, if you're a cat owner versus a dog owner, yeah, everyone's pets, but you might feel really passionate to really only be talking about dogs or only be talking about cats if that's your group. So you can take those personas and not just visualize that person as a theoretical, but you can create real content around that experience.
I'll interject here. AJ, I thank you so much. And Lori, thanks so much for this. I've got to jump on a team call here just right now, but really enjoyed it. And I look forward to go through the replay actually to make some notes on some of those links. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you again.
We will post the videos.
Okay, great deal. Bye-bye.
Well, we have a few more minutes. Let's see if we can't answer some of your questions. Please, no such thing as a dumb question.
Yeah, I have a question for AJ. Being from like marketing, I know that they use customer avatars, and then user experience design, they use personas. Do you see like are those like the similar things that you use, or do you have like two separate personas and avatars for marketing and then user experience? Do you kind of use both of them to help both areas out? Like, what are the differences and commonalities?
That's a great question. You know, I think academically there's differences between the two and how you might arrive at them. We kind of sit in between the two. So we often work with like the product teams and the marketing teams. And so we're really thinking about user experience. So we do end up thinking a little bit more of personas and like what behaviors are behind it, what some of the challenges are that they have. But I think that at the end of the day, it's not so much about the asset of having a face with some words under it. It's about actually having the conversation of who are we speaking to at this page? Like, who's the target audience that we're talking to with our site or with our ad copy or with our onboarding experience? Because I think a lot of the times we think it's like a one fit solution for everyone. But if you start thinking about like your own set of friends or your family, the way I talk to one of my uncles would be very different than how I talk to my niece. And so it should be the same way when I present and onboard them to my product or experience. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, thanks for your answer.
Anybody else?
I'm happy to answer by email too. So again, my email is aj@experimentzone. So I'm happy to have a follow-up chat if any of these things like spark some curiosity about your own business. I love to talk to people about making sure they can answer these questions. So feel free to reach out to me and we'll post this. So if you want to replay it, it'll be on our YouTube channel. And thank you guys all for coming today. Well, looks like we're right at time, so we can wrap up there.
Yeah. So I just want to let you guys know next month, our topic, we're going to hold some of it close to our vest, but what we're going to do is introduce some conversion tools that you probably haven't thought about. They're really kind of bleeding edge, or newer, or they're things you thought were too expensive for a smaller store, a mid-market store. So I do enjoy looking forward to that. In August, it looks like we're going to talk about the Apple changes, the new iOS privacy changes, and how you manage to work around them so you don't lose all that important data to know who's buying your product, and you can still reach Apple customers. So that's what's on topic the next couple months. If you want, we haven't exactly fleshed out those postings, but you can register now anyway if you like. So we'd love to see you all again.
Thanks everyone for joining today. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Thank you, AJ.